material effect of the interacting bodies, or the bodies themselves emerge, actualize themselves within this field of virtuality, a kind of wave collapsing into particles economy, a virtual possibility into realization. Do the interlacings of the actual, the real, the particle, the digital give rise to the effect or affect of immaterial virtual that could arrive but is now only autonomous sensation? Or does the virtuality, a wave, an analog continuity constitute a search field, a phase operation of potential diagrams of the real that at and as an event collapse into actualization? That is, does the real make the virtual, or does the virtual make the real? Zizek wants this to be an idealist material debate all over again, but for us, we map this across architecture, that is, and as the architectural image of what is to be. What is projection, then? To say the projected image. What is projection? Well, two very well-known quotes, I think will give us some help with this. One, first, Marx from the German ideology on the camera obscura. Consciousness can never be anything other than a conscious existence, and the existence of men is their actual life process. In all ideology, men and their circumstances appear upside down, as in the camera obscura. This phenomenon arises just as much from their life historical processes as the inversion of objects on the retina does from their physical life processes. That is, the imagination is programmed. Things are too dreamlike. The next, from Derrida, 1989. Today, perhaps because we are too familiar with at least the existence, if not the operation of machines for programming invention, we dream of reinventing invention on the far side of the program matrices. For us, is a programmed invention still an invention? Is it an event through which the future comes to us? The imagination is too programmed, it's not dreamlike enough. That is to say, prophecy. There is, in very important ways, an intractable relationship between projection and violence. There are at least two forms of house that we're working with here. Two modes of potus, of the power that organizes the house. The real, the cleaved, the house of the partition that gives body and force to the law. And on the one hand, and the imaginary, the prophetic house yet to come, that gives form to the law yet to be. The law as a representation of the house, the projected image. In Freudian theory, projection refers to a defense mechanism, whereby forbidden thoughts and impulses are attributed or transferred to another person or thing, rather than to oneself. The channeling of anxiety displaces some wish, originating from within, relocating it onto the surface of something else, ascribing the agency of that wish to the surface as well. It's an identification process moving from the inside to the outside. The cinema, on the other hand, is another kind of projection. And there, the dark space of the theater confuses the experience of interiority and exteriority, becomes a surrogate of both the mental space and the phenomenal world outside. The act of viewership is itself a kind of forgetting of the world and a prostheticization of sight and thought into the projection apparatus, with a temporal and spatial flux of the cinematic image, both screens, in both senses, concealing and revealing, and configures an embodied experience of the world. Christian Metz observed that the act of projection within the context of the cinema, aside from the actual apparatus, is one in which the viewer identifies with a character within the film and comes to experience their own thought through the form and fate of that character. The motivations of the character, in fact, become one's own. Here, then, the arc of transference of projection is, in essence, reversed or inverted. Instead of projecting the wish from oneself onto the surface of another, here the projection of the phenomenal analog onto the screen allows for an active transference of that character into one's own experience. The arc moves from the outside to the inside. What then is unexpected about the future? Is the unexpected future that which arrives without having already been represented and demonstrated in advance of itself, and that which the power of the design of those representations in advance of themselves to conscript the program of anticipation in their image? Is the consideration of the unexpected, that how we might host it, that Derrida laments a fatigue with the program matrices of invention by which the future comes to us? There is more, but there are, in fact, several futures. There is a futures market. As Walter Benjamin, in light of Walter Benjamin's notion of pure violence, it is not only a name for a messianic agency of agencies, but a purity that is assured by the perpetual deferral of its arrival into a kind of pure failure. but already known in advance, the irreducibly exceptional in its quality from the everyday, even as that inevitability gives a meta-historical order to our everyday. The violent projection of the future of architecture has also found a common track with messianic teleologies, both secular and religious. The imminence of immanence, the preordination of history, whether in messianic eschatology or dialectical materialism, suggests that it even demands vanguardist projection, first by image and then by ritual deed, to organize the present into the future of things that are inevitably yet to come. Here, the revelation of the terms of the present serve to reveal the terms of the future, fulfilling the projection and its design. And in this, the projection, also the core of the architect's diagram of space, becomes the mean by which the proposed future is given agency in the present, and by which the present is able to structure itself in that image, in the repetition in advance of itself. Architecture is a medium, and long been a medium of the popular projection and of becoming. The image of the future as an image of a building from the future. Whether theological prophecy, dialectical materialism, a capitalist teleology, an ideological competition to colonize the territory of the future, consumer convenience and epistemologies of marketing, from an ideology of personal expression of leisure to control and convenience, and in all of their own ways, personal maps of a utopia or a dystopia. After Jameson, a mode of cognitive mapping, of simply making sense of what already is. 9/11, among all the other things that it was also a moment of an explosion of the architectural imaginary, of what happened, what should replace what happened, and to make it using architecture to make sense of what was irreducibly an architectural event. My favorite series of proposals after 9/11 was, in fact, a user-generated competition with CNN.com, where they asked everyone to send in their own proposals for what they think should go with the World Trade Center site. And they received on the order of 27,000 entries, which is still up on the website. Quite curious. Something to do with gay, Zionist, Tesla enthusiasts. You laugh now. And perhaps most remarkable, an ad from the Palestinian Airlines that ran in 1975, but probably would not run again. All right, the projective image then. Architecture is, as a social profession, is rooted in this projective image, whereas the economy of art is rooted in the production of images that ostensibly exhaust their affective resonance in their viewership. The architectural images constitutes an affective resonance in reference to the realization of what an image is to come, only virtualizes in advance. Architecture, the image, is an image that is also there to invoke an affect in terms of what it suggests will be, an affect projection. That is not the sterile image, but neither one produced but what to come, but instead one produced in the immediate by the sensation it provokes about what has not yet happened. It is then both a double affect, both a resonance of the image itself and secondarily in the deferred experience of a potential future, and yet is only for the realization of the secondary, eventual reality that is able to charge and monetize its image-making capacities. Artists sell images, architects sell buildings by making images. One is about the event of seeing, the other the promise of an event of being. And in this deference, of course, works by a technique of miniaturization and eventual decompression, of the production of the